Edmonton. Alistair Johnson has a strike. Cucho spills. Larin! Goal! No longer a secret weapon, is it? Stacchio. Good ball. Touchdown! Sensational!
I think it's all the work that's been put in. For me, the most important at this stage was getting a win here in this game, because that sets the tone for, you know, the future and how things are going. For us to go out there and show our brotherhood. Obviously, you know, I have the most caps now, but it's more about what's going on in this country and the direction the program is going in. To see what's happening here in the stadium and around the country, that means a lot, because we've come a long way. So I'm very happy to be a part of all of this.
The Canadians men's national team is about to put on a show.
Only 6 games remain in this final round of World Cup qualifiers. The Canadians look to remain undefeated as they visit San Pedro Sula in Honduras. And the history inside Metropolitan Olympic Stadium haunts many fans of Les Rouges. But this bullish Canadian side welcomes the challenge as we welcome you inside our One Soccer studio. You're watching Matchday Live. Hello, everyone. Good to see you again. Andy Butrillo alongside Oliver Platt, Christian Jack. It is Canada versus Honduras as the World Cup qualifiers continue. And the last time we saw the men was back in November in the City of Champions. And champions they were. A win over Costa Rica and a massive win over the Mexicans, a first in 21 years. But John Herdman's message to his players heading into the final 2 windows is clear. Delete, restart. Nothing that happened in 2021 matters. Those wins don't mean you win now. There's still work to do. But that doesn't mean we can't talk about the standings and how Canada is at the top, and they've seen their FIFA ranking rise to 40th. Their jump of 32 spots in the calendar year earned them most improved side honors by FIFA. But sadly, there's a but. The story heading into this one, gentlemen, as we know, is no Alphonso Davies for the 3 games, no Stephen Eustachio, at least for this match. So, Ollie, how do these absences affect how they approach the window?
Yeah, I think there's reasons to be optimistic. I think this is obviously a more talented Canada team than ever, a deeper Canada team than ever. And we saw in the summer at the Gold Cup that Alphonso Davies wasn't there, Jonathan David wasn't there, still went to the semi-finals and turned in some very good performances. But I don't think we can sit here and say that this isn't going to have a major impact on the team. You know, these have been, Davies and Eustachio, for me, the 2 best Canadian players in the octagonal. Davies, the best player in the region, period. They've played 3 road games so far, scored 2 goals, and Davies created both of them. So that gives you an idea of the kind of impact he's having and how difficult it can be away from home to score goals and to create chances. So it's a really challenging window with everything that's going on with COVID right now, getting players in, you know, having 2 road games plus the United States. It's a difficult schedule, and it just got more challenging with these 2 players absent.
Yeah, of these 5 windows, this was always the one circled in red, I think, the trickiest one. Anyway, before we regarded, we found out with the news with this because of all of what Ollie's alluded to, the MLS players not anywhere near at prime shape, being out off season as well. And also we have to remember this January World Cup window doesn't happen in normal World Cup cycles. Players are not used to being available to be playing in the January World Cup window. So I always thought it would be tricky anyway. It just happens to be that it's Alphonso Davies and Eustachio, at least for tonight, that I'm missing. The key thing here is those players that are there, they don't feel it. They won't feel it. They know it's somebody else's opportunity. As Ollie said, they're used to that ever since the start of this campaign back in March against Bermuda. They're ready for it. There's a no-excuse mentality from the group, and I don't think they're going to let it affect their belief.
No, and as you've mentioned before, when they've had big players out of the lineup, they've still managed to produce some results. So who are going to be the 11 that John Herdman's going to rely on as well as we take a look now at Canada's starting 11, brought to you by GE Appliances Canada. KJ, when you look at this lineup, what does it tell you about Herdman's approach?
Well, two things. Tactical versatility. It's lined up as a 5, but you could very imagine, you see your own eyes there. Buchanan moves further forward. Hoylett moves to the left, turns into a 4-4-2 with Johnston playing as a right back. So you've got those abilities to switch between a 5 and a 4, which we've so often seen. The other thing is a heavily reliant on European-based players. There's 9 of 11 European-based players now, particularly when you include Buchanan, who's gone to Belgium. Victoria's playing very well domestically as well. So there's a lot to like about that team, particularly with Hoylett coming back, who I thought was tremendous in the second half against Honduras in the first game.
Yeah, that first thing in particular really stands out for me is flexibility. I think he selected that team so that John Herdman can make tactical changes throughout the game in pretty much any way he likes. You know, Adekubi can slide between wing back and full back, Buchanan between wing back and higher up the pitch, Hoylett can play centrally, he can play wides. You know, with all the different systems we've seen from Canada during this octagonal, and there's been quite a few, he can go to pretty much any one of them tonight with those 11 players on the field and do that quite quickly and easily. So that, I think, is going to be at the forefront of their minds tonight.
Well, here we are in January, but let's not forget that this final round of World Cup qualifying actually began back in September, and right out of the gate, Canada faced Honduras. And John Herdman was cautious. After all, he didn't have all of his players available to him that summer at the Gold Cup, meaning that his team hadn't really played together since June. So how did they do on that night against Honduras in Toronto at BMO Field? Here's a recap.
Good ball, dangerous. Buchanan gets back, contact, penalty given. Lopez. In. Goal for Honduras. The visitors strike first.
We have to be stronger. We have to fight for this shirt. We have to win every single game. Let's go. Let's go. Come on, boys. Yeah, come on. Head up. Get in. Come on. Let's go.
So on that night, a 1-1 draw as we take a look at Honduras' starting 11 on this night. And they've been through a lot coaching change in October. They don't have any wins in this window, gentlemen. They're sitting dead last. Although, as KJ, you like to remind me, mathematically, they're still in it. But who are their threats?
Well, you have to look right at the front three. This is it's a different version of the Honduras team that we saw at BMO Field, because Elise had a broken metatarsal that day, didn't play. Lozano was also hurt. Kyoto, obviously from CF Montreal, who won the Canadian Championship with his goal, came on in the first half. So a very different looking team. I liked Arriaga. I thought he was excellent that night. Lopez, Figueroa, and the two Rodriguez's were obviously the other players that stand out. But a physical team, a powerful team, but a very vulnerable team as well.
Yeah, I think so. I think this is a team that they will try and force turnovers. They will see them come out, I think, in the first 20 minutes and press very aggressively, play in transition and hit those front three guys as quickly as they can because they are so athletic and pacey. But it's a team that, as KJ alluded to there, they can be vulnerable, and they can be particularly vulnerable later on in games. They've conceded an absolutely remarkable amount of goals in the last 15 minutes, 9 I think it is, actually outscoring teams in the first half. But when it gets to that second half and the latter stages, maybe they've expended a bit too much energy early on. They can be very vulnerable.
You do wonder if they're chomping at the bit just a little bit, knowing that there is no Davies and there's no Eustachio. But what's been so great about this team is the depth. And we have the luxury of talking about a different player on any given night. And Kyle Larin is definitely one of those players who has made himself a storyline. He's on the verge of history. We'll have more when we return on Matchday Live.
We're used to labels. Apologetic. Sweet. Pushovers.
1, 2, 3, bang!
But screw labels. No more being polite. No more sugarcoating. Because we're labelless and limitless. Oat Canada, the official plant protein partner of Canada Soccer.
A meter and a half of hardwood and fiberglass. 250 square meters of ice. All mean nothing until someone brings them to life. To forge the unbreakable and defy the impossible. Humanity drives everything, and it's what inspires us at Toyota. Because everything in this world is ours to bring to life.
For life's transitions, working from home, and even small businesses, life gets better when you have space. With no long-term contracts or leases, get the size you need. First 4 weeks free. Access Storage. Proud partner of Canada Soccer's men's national team.
The national team is on the cusp of World Cup qualification for the first time since 1986. In its only men's World Cup appearance to date, the Canadians dropped all 3 matches to France, the Soviet Union, and Hungary, failing to score a goal in the process. But if you've been following this team, I have a feeling if they make the World Cup, there will definitely be some goals in their future. But first, they got to get through Honduras here tonight. Let's get to the 2 gentlemen who will be calling the match, Gareth Wheeler and Terry Dunfield.
Thank you, Andy. It's great to be back alongside my main man, Terry Dunfield. Now, this great game has brought all of us to some wonderful places, whether you follow it or you're a former player. So what's it like going down to Honduras? What's it like playing in Central America?
Some of my best experiences come from Central America. Some of my best stories, some of my best memories. And it's just that uncertainty and not knowing what's going to happen next. You're not in your routine of club football or playing at BMO or even Edmonton to a degree. When you go into Central America, you're not really sure what's coming your way.
I've never been to Honduras, but some of the stories in the build-up to this one have been legendary. So we all need a Dunfield special. Paint us the picture from your perspective heading down to Honduras.
Probably my most interesting story, Wheels, would be the routine of a player when you come into a game is you come off the bus, you've got your kit bag, you've got your boots, you'll go to where you get changed, you drop that off, and then you go to the bathroom, and then you go out onto the pitch and take a look at it, and then you get ready for the warm-up. So I come in, drop my stuff off at my peg, I go to the bathroom, but there's no bathroom. It was an open concept toilet or changing room. There was just 2 holes in the corner with no toilet paper. And I'm like, what the heck? And you're supposed to be in the zone, focusing on the game, as John Herdman calls it, kill mode. But it's hard to be in kill mode when you got to go to the bathroom. And the process was get a teammate to kind of cover you if you really got to go. And I'm an extrovert. You're an extrovert. I just couldn't do it. So I just cramped up for 3 hours.
Wow. I've always said you're full of it, but that time you're actually full of it. Got to tap into your perspective of, as a former player as well. Davies is out, Eustachio are out. Those are two star players for this Canada team. What does it do, or how does it change things for the rest of the group going forward here?
Yeah, great question. And I'd say a big part of Canada's ID is how tactically adaptable they are, their brotherhood, which is important, but a big part of it is their depth. And they almost have this next man up mindset. And not having Davies there is huge. Eustachio not being there is huge. But once you kind of get past that and you get into training camp and the team starts to come out in training, you're just so focused on your role. Again, like the process of it. In camp during the game, you're not really thinking about it. Maybe afterwards you might go, oh, we miss those players, or away in and around the hotel when you've got some time, you might really miss your teammates. But once they're kind of not part of that squad or camp or in selection for that game, you're just so focused on your role that you don't overthink it.
Canada does have reference points. They were without Alphonso Davies 6 times in 2021. They won 4 of those games. They dropped 2. Both of those games coming at the Gold Cup. We'll be back at the top of the clock. Terry, he has to run back to the loo. So back to you, Andy.
Sometimes it's best to just not comment on certain stories. Thank you, Garrett. Terry, we'll hear from you a little later on. Okay, for those of us on November 16th who woke up in Edmonton, we woke up to a winter wonderland and temperatures below 0. Who was going to rise to the occasion that night when Canada was taking on Mexico? Alistair Johnston remembers the day well.
The first thing that hit you was just how cold it was. I remember coming out from warm-ups, I was layered up and still going, oof. I mean, I'm still feeling this to my core right now. You could sense it was going to be a special night no matter what happened. And I think we really fed off the crowd. And don't get me wrong, it was cold out there, but once you got playing, it really wasn't that bad. The hardest part about playing was the fact that the pitch was frozen, so there wasn't a lot of decelerating and accelerating. It was really tough, obviously, to do that. And also just your toes were frozen, so it's so hard to hit a ball with any feeling on it when you literally just felt like you were swinging a club. So it was a pretty just surreal atmosphere all around. Obviously, helping to create that first goal was, that's probably the biggest, like looking back on any moment there, I get like the chills, the hairs kind of stand up in the back of my neck, but definitely thinking back to that game. Everything just kind of felt right. Saw the ball in the middle there and said, hey, look, this is exactly what John wants me to be. Just go be super aggressive in the midfield. Stepped in there, won it. And as soon as I saw how it was sitting up, I thought, you know what? I've done enough. I've won this. Tajon can't be too mad if I don't pass it to him here. And it just felt like the moment was perfect. I just decided, I'm going to hit this. It felt like the exact right moment as soon as it left my foot. I knew it probably wasn't going to sneak in, even though I was hoping deep down it would. But there it was, Kyle Larin. That's just an absolute poacher's finish, just always around the box. Ready to jump on those rebounds, tuck that one in, even got his second of the night as well with another great finish off of just an unbelievable Eustachio delivery. I don't know how he did that with a frozen foot. And then Milan made some huge saves for us at the end to keep us in it. And I think one of the coolest moments as well was just after that, going around the stadium. I mean, the number of people that stayed after in that, whatever it was, minus 20-degree weather, and, cheer us all on for at least 30 minutes after the game was pretty surreal as well. That's where you could really tell how momentous of a moment that was for Canada soccer in that area. I think Edmonton did an unbelievable job, and I know a lot of people flew in for that game, and it really kind of puts things into perspective, how far we've gone in this past calendar year. So just to be a part of that is a really cool experience.
A night Canadians will remember for years to come. But here's the thing, they also remember the name Alistair Johnston. And this is somebody who only has 18 caps for Canada, all coming in 2021. But he's already solidified himself as a starter for John Herdman's squad. How has he, Ollie, been able to rise so quickly in the ranks?
Well, he's a very good young player, but it's also, I think, a personality thing with him because his enthusiasm is just infectious. Like, when I did that interview, I had a whole list of questions about Edmonton I wanted to ask him, like the weather, his role in the first goal, the celebrations at the end. I asked him one question and he just went off, you know, and basically narrated the entire day for me and recalling everything he could remember. He's fantastic to talk to. And I think that's, as I say, it's infectious. He's someone who I think is so excited about what's happening in Canadian soccer right now. And as I said, backing that up is a fantastic skill set as a really versatile modern defender.
Yeah, he's got both attributes, right? Talent and attitude, right? So now the talent has come because the attitude was already there. Like you, I've had the pleasure of talking to him as well, sat down with him for like 25 minutes for one of my Beyond the Pitch interviews a couple of months ago. And, you know, he's also what a lot of Canadians are on this team, someone who's come from humble background and not really a big-time prospect, played in League One Ontario, was missed out by a lot of players and a lot of teams in the draft. Not many people thought he could go on and play in this role where he could be a wing back and the defender. And, you know, John Herbert's first call to him was, can you play both positions? He's like, yeah, I can be your Azpilicueta for Canada. And that's what he's turned out to be, you know. And that's the best example. You know, what is Azpilicueta for Chelsea? A rock, a captain, a foundation, and everything you want. And that's what this guy's going to be for years. And look, as I said a couple of shows ago, this is the kind of player that can get 100 caps for this country. Yeah,
drafted by Nashville 2020. And now CF Montreal very excited that he has now joined their team for the upcoming MLS season. But when we look back on Edmonton, the legacy of those two wins, KJ, Costa Rica and, of course, Mexico 2-1. Where do you think that just fits in the history books?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because right now we evaluate it as being 6 points and 2 Goliaths in Concacaf, Costa Rica and Mexico, that were passed on. But there's certain things you can't measure in standings, right? There's the connection to fans. There's the ability to take this sport to another level. And I think that's all external. Internally, I think that what really stuck with me was just how tough they were. Mentally tough, this group. You know, at times, even when they were rocked, they never, ever got away from believing that they were going to win the game. Any condition, Alistair Johnson talks about the surface there, it didn't matter. Any pattern of the way they went. And this belief is just shining through with that team. And that says a lot when a group of young players can come together and believe, look out in any format, in any sport.
Yeah, I just thought it was kind of a perfect encapsulation of, you know, some old traditional Canada, which was obviously the weather and the scene, and you know, that was classic, you know, a classic Canadian kind of sports night, I think. But then also combining that with something that's really new in this country, which is this men's national team, and you know what the team looks like, the backgrounds those players have come from, their attitude, their approach is so fresh, especially if you've been following the men's national team for a long time, and all the disappointments that have come through. You know, to go up against Mexico and Costa Rica, to make them really uncomfortable, to be on the front foot for 180 minutes, is something really exciting. And as I said, it was done in a perfect Canadian setting.
Well, they're learning to CONCACAF other nations, and they're definitely on the attack. If there's one thing this Canadian men's team is proving themselves to be, that is an offensive juggernaut. So far in this World Cup qualifying campaign, they've scored 43 goals, and leading the way is Kyle Larin, who has 14. And that's already a record for most goals scored in a World Cup qualifying year for the Canadian men's program. But he's not done. He's still chasing history.
Kyle Larin, the first ever Canadian to go first overall in the MLS draft. The young Canadian would make his mark in his rookie campaign, scoring the historic first home goal inside Exploria Stadium for expansion side Orlando.
He's got it! Well, how about that for a housewarming gift?
He would go on to set a new rookie scoring record, 17 goals in 27 games, taking home MLS Rookie of the Year honors. In 3 seasons with Orlando, he led the team each time in goals. But in late 2017, the honeymoon was over. Larin wanted out. Rumors started swirling that a Turkish club was interested. MLS Training Camp 2018, Larin didn't report. A deal was finally reached between Orlando and Turkish side Besiktas. Larin got his wish of playing in Europe, but it wasn't a smooth ride. Shortly after arriving to his new club, he was sent out on loan. And in 2019, he made just 4 appearances for Canada out of their 10 matches, starting in only 2. With the emergence of Alphonso Davies and Jonathan David, was Larin done?
The Canadian in the business again.
During the pandemic season, Kyle Larin, the footballer, was reborn. His 19 league goals would place him second in scoring in a year that saw Besiktas crowned league champions. his resurgence carried over to the national team. After scoring his last goal for Les Rouges in 2018, Larin dominated the 2021 calendar year, scoring 14 times in 13 matches. And who could forget his 2 goals on that magical night against Mexico, known as the Azteca.
Johnston steps in. Alistair Johnson has a strike. Cucho spills. Larin! Stacchio. Good ball. Touchdown! Sensational!
A first overall pick, a league champion. Kyle Larin is still writing his story. He finds himself just 1 goal away from etching his name into the history books, just 1 goal away from becoming the all-time leading goal scorer for the Canadian men. Kyle Larin is still here and better than ever.
What a journey it has been for Kyle Larin, and obviously that league play just really stepping up his game, getting the call into John Herdman's camp. But I want to just take you back 2 years from now, or 2 years ago, if I were to have told you, KJ, that Canada's on the brink of qualifying for a World Cup. Kyle Larin has resurged, and now he's on the verge of becoming the all-time goal scorer for the men. What would have been your response?
Well, I think everybody would have probably said that you're probably not right in terms of saying those things. I can go lots of different ways with that answer. I just say I think it's a perfect example as, you know, if things are well in your personal life and you're happy, it can definitely translate into your professional life. You know, it wasn't touched on there because it's his own personal story to tell, but he's had really difficult, dark moments, you know, and they're gone now. They're in his rear mirror, and thankfully they're never going to come back. But, you know, he has lived over that. He's got through that. And he's now in an environment and in a wonderful city in the world, in Istanbul, where he knows every game he's on and he's switched on. And I think that was better for him than the more relaxed atmosphere of Major League Soccer, where it's not necessarily every game that counts. And I think that mentality has certainly helped him. I know Atiba Hutchinson has certainly spoke a little bit about that to me, about him as well. And he's now more than just a 9. Yeah. He's a goal scorer, but he's more of a complete forward, and we're going to need to see that tonight as he plays with Jonathan David for the first time since that Honduras home game. Yeah, much more complete player, and that's come from some tough times on the pitch as well. Like you said it in that video there, Andy, that there was real doubt or, you know, question marks about what kind of role Kyle Larin was going to have to play going forwards when Jonathan David is this rising star up front, and, you know, he's going out on loan and things aren't quite working out for him at Besiktas. And even before that, like, Kyle Larin's been with this national team for some time. And I think in those early days when he's a very young player, you know, he's getting stuck up front on his own in a team that doesn't create any chances, very defensive at times. I think a few people, maybe fans and media even as well, got a bit of the wrong impression about Kyle Larin during those years. And now we're seeing what he's really made of.
He's looking fantastic, and he's going to look to be more fantastic here tonight for the Canadians. As mentioned, 1 more goal, and he will hold that record all to himself. And all 8 teams in this final window are in action right now. You can see Jamaica, Mexico. Mexico trying to right some wrongs here, as we know. They've dropped their last 2 World Cup qualifiers against USA and Canada. We're bringing you the Honduras-Canada game from San Pedro Sula. And you can take a look as well at the other matches that will be happening. So, of course, you do have USA, who will be taking on El Salvador. That game underway as well. No score in that one. And then there's the late one, Costa Rica and Panama. Quickly, just your thoughts right now on any team here tonight you think, Ollie, whose journey to Qatar can come to an end.
Well, Honduras, firstly, you know, I think they're already facing a massive uphill struggle. El Salvador, I think, are going to find it very difficult at this point as well. But the biggest game of the night is, you know, of course, we think it's Canada, but I think region-wide is that Costa Rica-Panama game. Even if Costa Rica win this game, I still think they got a very difficult pathway because of some of the games they've already played have been their easier fixtures, maybe. But they absolutely have to win, I think, to stay in the race. Yeah, we're not quite in mathematical must-win scenarios, but you're right. You know, for me, that's a massive game for Costa Rica and also for Canada, because Canada want Costa Rica to win that game. Any goal that's scored by Canada or any goal scored against Panama are the same value now. This is what it's become. You know, Costa Rica, if they can take points away from Panama, remember, Panama still have to go to the US and still have to go to Mexico and still play tonight in Costa Rica. 3
massive games. It's going to be very challenging for them.
Yeah, the picture will start to get a lot clearer after tonight and definitely after this window as well. We are still busy with soccer, though, in the month of February as Concacaf Champions League begins. And we do have the Canadian champion CF Montreal. They take on Santos Laguna. That'll be February 15th, 10 p.m. ET. And CPL side Forge FC from Hamilton thrilled their fans by qualifying for the tournament. Their reward? Yeah, that would be Cruz Azul. That is February 16th. Well, we're making our way inside the Metropolitan Olympic Stadium in San Pedro Sula shortly. How will John Herdman deal with the loss of Davies? We hear from him next.
We're used to labels. Apologetic. Sweet. Pushovers.
1, 2, 3, bang!
But screw labels. No more being polite. No more sugarcoating. Because we're labelless and limitless. Oat Canada, the official plant protein partner of Canada Soccer.
To play. It's something that's in us from the very beginning, and something we take with us on every step of the journey. When we have no words, it gives us a way to speak. When we are still finding our way in the world, it gives us somewhere to belong. And no matter who we are or where we come from, it gives us the right to dream.
Christine Sinclair as she scores at her 5th World Cup. Alfonso Davies!
It's time to celebrate the game we love. It's time to play.
It'll be tough, but this is what we want. Qualifying for a World Cup was never easy.
Oh, Larin, stop and go across. It's in! Atiba, it had to be!
I know that this country are desperate to see us qualify. We are, but I keep reminding these players it's one game at a time.
Near post again, flicked on goal! Buchanan!
Nailing our process every camp and then staying in the moment. Just this moment now, 3 days, preparation for Honduras, and then giving everything.
Stacchio, good ball, touchdown! Sensational!
And if we stay in that vein, I don't think there's anyone can stop this team.
Their journey began in March 2021. The Canadian men have played in the heat, the cold, inside empty stadiums. They've played home games on the road, and they've traveled to countries ripe with political tension and violence, and they've passed each test that has come their way. And now another one awaits: Central America. Honduras hasn't been kind to Canada. No warm reception, no mercy. The Canadians will try to stay undefeated as they also look to rewrite their story in San Pedro Sula. As we welcome you inside our studio, it is Match Day Live. Annie Petrillo alongside Oliver Platt and Christian Jack. We are getting ready for Canada to take on Honduras. And only 6 games remain in the final round of qualifying. Only 2 more 3-game windows. And we're going inside Metropolitan Olympic Stadium. 1985. Do you remember what you were doing that year? Because that's the last time Canada beat Honduras in Honduras. 2012, we all know the heartbreak of that 8-1 loss. And 2016 was the last time Canada played in San Pedro Sula, a 2-1 loss in another World Cup qualifying game. Now, so far, this group of players, while respecting the team's history, haven't let it define who they are today, and the standings are proof of that. They're undefeated, and along the way, they've taken points from their arch rivals, the Americans, and who could forget the 3 points they took from the Mexicans in November. But the big story, of course, is no Alphonso Davies for this 3-game window. And how do you think that changes things, Ollie?
Well, it does change things. You know, we can't sit here and say otherwise when you look at two players of the caliber of Alphonso Davies and Stephen Eustaquio. For me, they've been Canada's 2 best players in World Cup qualifying so far, and Davies is the best player in the region. So, of course, you're going to miss those 2 players. I think what we can say is that the team has got themselves into a position at this point where they don't need 9 points out of 9 here. They don't need perfection anymore. They're getting closer and closer to qualifying for this World Cup. And when I look at this group of players, yes, it's a very tough series of games, 2 difficult road trips plus the United States, obviously, but I think there's enough there. I think there's enough quality there, there's enough character there to respond to this in the right way and to get the kind of number of points that we think they need out of this window.
This is a collective effort. There's been 32 players already played in these World Cup qualifiers already. Players like Sam Piette get their chance tonight. Junior Hoylett get their opportunity tonight. Players that have had conversations, tough conversations with coaches over the last few windows, wanting to play more or missing through injuries, but are enormous parts, massive pillars of the foundation of success of this team, not everything that we see on the pitch. It's that camaraderie that they're building. At some point, you've got to give those players opportunities to step up and give them opportunities to shine, because then the reference points are there for them as well. Yes, Davies is the maverick. He's the X factor. He's the most expensive player and the most talented player that they have. But other players will get those opportunities. And we have to say, it's a January World Cup window. These don't happen. They never happen. It's only happening because of COVID. And if we all thought Alphonso Davies, if he was fit and healthy, would be playing 90 minutes in every 3 games, I think we'd be naive anyway in this window.
Well, let's hear what John Herdman has to say about not having Alphonso Davies in his lineup.
I mean, I think firstly, we just wish Alphonso all the best of health and hope he recovers. You know, we can't deny that it's a big loss, and a big loss on a number of reasons. He's such an infectious personality when he's in the camp, and yeah, you miss him. You miss him when he's not here. But we have to adapt. It's part of this story. We've been on this World Cup qualification journey since March last year, and we've had a lot of ups and downs with players coming in and out. And we've responded, and I think that's the key to all of this. There's a mentality in this group that, you know, these things are going to happen, and it's an opportunity now for someone else to respond and make sure that we stay on track to qualify for the World Cup.
So let's see what John Herdman has done now with his starting 11, brought to you by GE Appliances Canada. By the way, a reminder to people, Davies, of course, as we know, tested positive for COVID, and then it was detected a slight myocarditis. That's why he's not here. Eustaquio day to day. So when you look at this lineup right now, KJ, how is Herdman compensating for those 2 absences?
Well, we know the tactical versatility is there. It's listed as a back 5, but you can very much imagine Johnston playing right back, Adekubi left back, and Buchanan further forward with Hoylett wide. So, you know, it's a heavily based European-based team. There's no doubt about that. David and Larin up top. Hoylett comes in. Buchanan's now in Bruges in Belgium. Atiba Hutchinson obviously winning Super Cups in Turkey. Adekubi's been marvellous over there as well. Kennedy's played back-to-back weekends in Bundesliga 2. Vittoria played against Benfica recently. Massive big games that they've been playing. Only Johnston, really, and Piette, the CF Montreal players, are the ones who aren't anywhere near match fit. And I think that's been the high emphasis of John Herdman, to get them ready to be that competitive level here in a difficult window in January.
For sure, and a big emphasis for them with Davies not there and losing the attacking power of Alphonso Davies is putting Kyle Larin and Jonathan David back together. That's something they haven't done from the start since the very first game of the octagonal against Honduras. It was up and down in that game. I think there are, traits that those 2 players share that maybe don't make them perfectly compatible. But I spoke to Kyle Larin this week. He felt it was getting better as the game wore on, and with a bit more time, they maybe would have found that second goal and got a win in that game. So they're going to need those 2 to be good tonight.
Alphonso Davies is a star, but if there's one thing this team prides itself on is the next man up mentality. And we even saw that in that November window. It doesn't matter that Jonathan David was the one who scored the goal in Costa Rica. He doesn't get the start in the next one either. But I mean, Davies, from assisting to Kyle Larin's goal versus the United States, that was a huge draw for them. Assisting Osorio in Mexico and getting that draw draw inside Estadio Azteca. And then, of course, who could forget the goal against Panama that went viral around the world? So now we start to look at other players, and I just mentioned one in particular, and of course, that's Jonathan David. How much pressure is on him to kind of pick up that slack?
Yeah, there's pressure on him for sure, but I'm not really worried about the pressure because what we're seeing increasingly with these Canadian players, and KJ just went through the list of them, is these guys are playing in big environments every single week in Europe. And Jonathan David is playing, near the top of European football right now in the Champions League with Lille. He's used to that. He's getting used to that pressure, so that I'm not too concerned about. For me, as I was saying with the lineup there, I think it's more of a technical and tactical challenge as to how do you get the best out of David and Larin at the same time? How do you get them working as a strike partnership? And I think there's some interesting possibilities that open up. Not for a second saying that it's a good thing, obviously, that Davies isn't there, but the team is going to look a little bit different, and it's going to be built a bit more around Jonathan David, and that obviously could play in his favour.
I mean, listen, right now he's scoring a lot of goals in League One.
What a problem to have, by the way.
Yeah.
Questioning with Jonathan David's form for Canada. Yeah. This is where we are in 2022, right?
Yeah, he's second in League One scoring. And, can he handle the pressure here when it comes to Canada? All right, but let's take a look now at Honduras' starting 11, a team that has no wins. They sit last. Made a coaching change as well in October, KJ. But sometimes a wounded animal can be a little scary.
Yeah, they can be. Look, this is a team that is unfamiliar in terms of what Canadian players are going to see a little bit. Elise, Lozano and Kyoto, none of them started that opening game in the BMO Field. Elise had a broken foot. Lozano was hurt. Kyoto came on, obviously the CF Montreal player that won the Canadian championship in the first half when Lopez went off. The rest, we've seen a little bit of like that. But they are extremely vulnerable. You mentioned it. This is a top versus bottom clash so far in the standings. I've watched a ton of Honduras games during this time, and they fade quickly in games. I don't think their game management is very clever. I think their fitness is low, and they concede poor goals. Get balls into the box, be direct today, which is why I like Hoyle and Buchanan playing. Feed David and Larin on those balls, and then you can get them in. They also give away goals of ridiculous natures. Look at this. Just give away opportunities like that. This is the third goal for the U.S. that Aronson slotted home when they came and scored 4 in that second half. And they also collapsed pretty quickly. This was a monumental game in the 95th minute against Costa Rica. Just look how easy it is to play through them. One player all alone in the box in the last minute of the game, and they concede and lose the point. It was the same against Panama, the same thing. These goals, look at the lead, 2-0 up in the 77th minute, and they give away silly goals, rash mistakes. And Ollie, I think if you look at these kind of games, that's what, if you're looking at Canada, you're thinking, stay in the game, no matter if we go behind, they're going to give us opportunities.
Yeah, very, very simple. First half, they've scored 4 goals and conceded 3. Second half, they've scored 1 goal and conceded 12. That tells you the story of where this team is vulnerable, and patience is going to be a big thing for Canada tonight, to wait for those latter stages when the chances are going to be there.
Can Canada exploit that in particular? Jonathan David, this is a player we're talking about, and it's so hard to believe that he just made his debut for the national team, by the way, in 2018, and he already has 18 goals in 24 appearances. They call him the Iceman. Cool as ice, cool under pressure. What challenges await Jonathan David tonight?
Cannon's there. Low balls, far
CanadaSoccerStore.com is the new home for official Canada soccer apparel and fanwear, including customized national team jersey.
Your Canadian men's national team is about to put on a show.
For life's transitions, working from home, and even small businesses, life gets better when you have space. With no long-term contracts or leases, get the size you need. First 4 weeks free. Access Storage. Proud partner of Canada Soccer's men's national team.
I don't know how hard the other coaches work, but I know myself and the staff, we put in a lot of work. And yeah, you have to be pretty smart to be in this profession. So I think we do a pretty good job at that.
A meter and a half of hardwood and fiberglass. 250 square meters of ice. All mean nothing until someone brings them to life. To forge the unbreakable and defy the impossible. Humanity drives everything, and it's what inspires us at Toyota. Because everything in this world is ours to bring to life.
Canada men's national team on onesoccer is brought to you by the Toyota Corolla family.
When we need a player's perspective, we turn to a man who appeared 46 times for his country, scoring 6 goals and adding 4 assists during an international career spanning more than a decade and included 3 World Cup qualifying cycles. Ian Hume joining us now from his home in Southwest Ontario. You look the exact same, my friend. You haven't aged a day. Although I'm pretty sure when you were in Honduras playing some of those games, you probably felt like it had been aging you just a little bit. But let me ask you this. What does it take for Canada to get 3 points in an environment like Honduras?
Just going about the same way they have been. You see the energy and the belief that this group has. Going down to Honduras, listen, it's not easy, but with the way these guys have been playing for the last 18 months, 2 years, they've proved to the world, not just Concacaf, that they're real competitors and they want to win every single game and they believe they can. And going down to San Pedro Sula, it's not easy, but they go in, okay, you're missing Alphonso Davies, Stefan Eustachio, but their squad is deep enough to go in there with the same energy and same game plan. And I have no doubt that they'll come out on top if they implement it the way John Herdman has them doing game in, game out.
We've been talking a lot about Honduras sitting last in the standings, and we know that this is a wounded team. And even John Herdman in the past has said sometimes these are the teams you have to worry about the most. They can play spoiler here, right? We've heard that phrase used a lot in the world of sport. They can definitely still impact the standings. So how do you approach a team like Honduras?
You just have to quieten the fans down. It's one of the hardest things. Honduras, up until like 4 or 5 years ago, had one of the best home records in world soccer. So you go there, you keep them quiet and don't let them get on top of you, like unfortunately they did to us pretty early 9 years ago. You stop them from doing that, and the fans will turn. That's the type they are. They support them to the death, literally. When they're doing well, but when they're struggling, they do get on their backs and they'll start whistling, they'll start hurling abuse, and Canada just has to go out there and be calm, be very solid at the back, make sure no mistakes that will cost them big time with goals and chances and set pieces. And then when they get their opportunities with Kyle Larin, Junior Hoylett, Jonathan David, Tajon Buchanan, when they get their chances, they have to take them, because that was something that's come back to bite us in the past with this team and the quality they've shown. I'm sure they'll do it. When they get those chances, they'll punish them.
I feel like you can go down the list even more when it comes to this Canadian team, because we've touched on their depth and hence why they've been so successful. But even just looking at the lineup here tonight, is there a player in particular for Canada you're expecting a big performance from?
Not a player. I think the front two. For me, obviously I can look at the back line, but the front two, they're going to get chances. They might be few and far between, but they need to put them away. And with Kyle Larin, Jonathan David, I think we've got 2 of the most lethal strikers in CONCACAF right now. And I'm sure they'll get 1 or 2 chances. I'd love to see them put them away and go home with the 3 points.
Well, I'm sure Canadian fans would love to see that as well. Humie, we're going to check in with you post-game, and hopefully we'll be talking about just that as well. Canada taking on Honduras. And speaking of Jonathan David, we touched on him earlier. Humie also isolating him there. Perhaps could have a big night. Well, let's talk a little bit more about Jonathan David as we head on over to the Tactical Breakdown Board, brought to you by Sports Interaction with KJ.
Thank you, Andy. We're here in 2022. It is a World Cup year. It's a massive year for Canadian soccer. It's also a massive year for a player called Jonathan David, as you mentioned. There's a couple of things right now that I want to talk about mainly, which is why a lot of major European clubs, the biggest clubs in the world, are looking at him. So let's break down two things that really catch the eye when you look at Jonathan David's game, both club level and international level right now, particularly at Lille. Two things I want to look at. First of all, how deadly he is in one-on-one situations in front of the goal and how he is very influential in setting that up himself. We've got a player right here who he is, just coming forward. This is when he's playing as a 9 at Monaco, simply a few days after the Edmonton break. Watch what he does here to create space as we play it through to bring the central defender in. And the moment that he understands that, the central midfielder is aware that now this space can be exploited. David's got pace, but he's also got an anticipation and intelligence to create the scenario. As we play it through, look what happens. When you get in that situation, you're suddenly in a one-on-one situation with the goalkeeper. Many strikers at any level, this is where things go into fear mode. They fear what could happen. This is what separates the best finishers in the game to the ones who are average. This gap here between goalkeeper and striker in one-on-one situations. This is when he is at his best. Look how cool and calm he is. Left foot, right foot headers, it doesn't matter. He comes alive in one-on-one situations. Again, you can see him here. This time playing a little bit off the number 9, which shows his versatility. This is a traditional defensive line against Jonathan David. 4-2-3-1. Central midfielder, very aware of where he would be. How do you get around that? Watch what he does. As the number 9 Yilmaz comes in to take the central defender away, he understands that right away. Now he's exploited that space. Here we go again. Plays the ball over the top, and he's in against Brest. Now, at this moment, there's that situation again. Time to slow it down, cool, calm, collected. Watch how brilliant a finish this is. He doesn't go with the right, switches it back, understands where he can beat the goalkeeper and places it in. An unbelievable attribute to have as a world-class striker. The other thing I want to talk about is anticipation and one-touch finishing. Here against Paris Saint-Germain, against two of the best centre-backs in the world in Marquinhos and Kimpembe, here he is as a number 9. Look how his feet is always ready to receive the ball. Soft feet, side on all the time, anticipating what could happen. And in this moment, understands where he needs to be at the best moment for one-touch finishing. Play it through again. Great opportunity. Side foot, goal. One of the biggest clubs in the world, PSG. Again, one-touch finishing. This in World Cup qualifying. Free kicks for Canada. A lot of time you'll see it again tonight. Try and circle the back post. Aim for Vittoria. They've been very successful with that and getting David free. Here's Vittoria here. He's going to win it. Watch 20. Keep an eye on it about keeping the space all the time in these situations. Goes to the second phase, and now he takes a look at the goalkeeper. He's understanding and scanning that situation for what's about to come next. He knows if he gets a chance, where am I putting that ball? Far corner. Beats the goalkeeper because he sees it before it happens. Another great quality. And again, another free kick situation, this time in Edmonton. Again, getting free. Here he is in this area. How do you get free in those situations? This is one of my favorite goals that he scored. And I'll tell you why. Eustáquio puts the ball in. Look at this situation here. Everybody's going for the ball, including the goalkeeper. What's Jonathan David doing? He's backing away. Why? He's anticipating right away that that goalkeeper is missing that ball and putting himself in that position to score it. He sees something happening before anybody else. Terry Dunfield, when he called the game, he called it gambling, and he was bang on. And a Sports Interaction will tell you there are clever gamblers and there are not so clever gamblers. That man is a clever gambler in front of goal, and he's got a wonderful future ahead of him. Andy?
Great stuff, KJ. Well, we're less than 20 minutes away from kickoff, and temperatures sitting around 25 degrees. We're in the penultimate window of World Cup qualifying. Tajon Buchanan has had a meteoric rise with the national team. Can he shine once again?
This broadcast of Canada Soccer's national teams is presented by Allstate. You're in good hands.
We're used to labels. Apologetic. Sweet. Pushovers.
1, 2, 3, bang!
But screw labels. No more being polite. No more sugarcoating. Because we're labelless and limitless. Oat Canada, the official plant protein partner of Canada Soccer.
We've created this environment where a player walks into our dressing room and our environment, and they know they're there to compete, and they know they're there to compete for championships.
For life's transitions, working from home, and even small businesses, life gets better when you have space. With no long-term contracts or leases, get the size you need. First 4 weeks free. Access Storage. Proud partner of Canada Soccer's men's national team.
A new era for Canadian soccer begins today. Experience the emotion of every match. Watch all the highlights, the breaking news, the best debates, and analysis, and all the information about the Canadian stars playing abroad. Get access to the best of Canadian soccer from any device. Join the new dawn of an unstoppable game. See the rise on onesoccer.ca.
The Canadians men's national team is about to put on a show.
CanadaSoccerStore.com is the new home for official Canada Soccer apparel and fanwear, including customized national team jerseys.
It's been a long road back for Canada men's national team, which prior to last year hadn't reached the final stage of Concacaf World Cup qualifying since 1997, when these Canadian soccer legends donned the maple leaf, ultimately falling short of qualification for World Cup 1998 in France. We welcome you back to Matchday Live. We're getting set for Canada versus Honduras. I'm repeating myself. There is no Alphonso Davies, but the reason why I'm saying that is because when there wasn't Alphonso Davies, the Gold Cup, Tajon Buchanan stepped up. When Alphonso Davies didn't play against El Salvador in this final round of World Cup qualifying, it was Tajon Buchanan who was back in the lineup. And KJ, it looks like once again, he'll be filling that role.
Yeah, and, I'm thrilled for him because I think he's ready for this moment. It's not that long ago where he wasn't considered as being part of the A squad, not just the A11, but the A squad. When he was going to the Olympic qualifiers, and his development is quicker than anybody else over the past year. His mindset is absolutely first class. It's a thrill to interview a player like that. I've watched both his games in Belgium, asked to play on the left, sometimes almost as a wing back. He is made for moments like this. And, he's quite curious by nature. He's very, very quiet, painfully shy in some things, but I think that is a real benefit to him. He's a tremendous listener. He watches a ton of football. He listens to obviously his coaches. And when you're not self-absorbed and you are curious by nature, that is a massive advantage for him and his superiority on the football pitch. And he comes alive. We saw it. Daniil Henry said when they had that brawl against Panama, he looked and suddenly it's Tajon right away in the face of players. That's when he comes alive. He wants big moments. Yeah. He scored big goals for the New England Revolution, and now he's excelling in Belgium as well.
Yeah, it feels like when the team turns to him and needs him most, he delivers. We saw that at the Olympic qualifiers when he was easily Canada's best player. We saw it at the Gold Cup, and we're going to need that, I think, tonight, because you look at this Canada lineup, it's still got a lot of attacking firepower, don't get me wrong, but I think coming from deeper positions where normally you have Larin and Davies and you have Eustaquio who can play those passes that kind of split the midfields, there's not as much dynamic play from those deeper areas. Buchanan's going to be the guy they look to supply that, and he's going to need to be a real outlet for them tonight.
By the way, no score yet between USA, El Salvador. No score between Mexico, Jamaica, though Jamaica just given a red card. And hey, keep your eye out for VAR, which is now being implemented in 2022. That is right. All right, well, November 16th feels like yesterday. Canadians are still buzzing from that monumental victory over the Mexicans, but this is a new year, new games, new challenges. The Canadians look to once again rise to the occasion. It's Canada, Honduras next.
Canada men's national team on One Soccer is brought to you by the Toyota Corolla family.
1.5 meters of hardwood and fiberglass. 250 square meters of ice. All mean nothing until someone brings them to life. To forge the unbreakable and defy the impossible. Humanity drives everything, and it's what inspires us at Toyota. Because everything in this world is ours to bring to life.
For life's transitions, working from home, and even small businesses, life gets better when you have space. With no long-term contracts or leases, get the size you need. First 4 weeks free. Access Storage. Proud partner of Canada Soccer's men's national team.
We're used to labels. Apologetic. Sweet. Pushovers.
1, 2, 3, red!
But screw labels. No more being polite. No more sugarcoating. Because we're label-less and limitless. Oat Canada, the official plant protein partner of Canada Soccer.
Providing competitive odds on all sports. Sports Interaction is Canada's sportsbook.
Moments away from kickoff now in San Pedro Sula, and a lot has been made about the atmosphere in Honduras, but they too, as we know, are being affected by COVID here in its 50% capacity. So I don't know, in your opinion, KJ, you just take a look at that. Do you think the atmosphere is going to even be an issue?
Well, I think it will be obviously a part of the story. I just don't think the players are bothered by it. Ultimately, as I said earlier, you've got players playing at the highest level now. You know, as Ollie and I said on our live chat this week online, you know, Istanbul is a difficult place to play. Yeah. And there's a couple of players starting tonight playing there. Do you know what I mean? There's a lot of difficult places that these players have been. They've been to Haiti. I think more importantly is I'd love to see what the surface is like. Every Honduras game I watch, it's long grass, it's slow and ponderous for a reason. They'll want to slow that down and not give Canada any kind of advantage, and that's what home advantage can do, Ollie.
Yeah, absolutely. I think just looking at these pictures here, like it being at 50% capacity is undoubtedly going to have an impact. I think we can see that. I would also say, and you know, maybe Ian can talk a bit about this after the game, I'm not sure these places are quite as frightening as they used to be in certain ways. I don't think they're quite as intimidating as they have been in the past. I thought that Estadio Azteca earlier in the qualifying cycle, compared to, you know, pictures and videos you see from 20 years ago where it's just crazy and there's over 100,000 people in there. So it will be tough, and KJ is right that the pitch is going to play a big part, particularly when Honduras come out early and try and get on top of Canada and get a bit of momentum.
Well, there seems to be a delay. We're not hearing the reason why, but right now the players have yet to take to the tunnel to head out to the pitch. If we hear anything, we'll let you know. If not, I think we're about 5 minutes away from kickoff here in a very big match for the Canadians. And there's a lot being made, obviously, for the window as a whole, as we're seeing them now here. But how much relief, if any, KJ, do you think this puts on the Canadians if they get the full 3 points here when they take on the States?
Oh, it's an enormous opportunity for them to go out and win the game in a very difficult environment. There's no question about that. 16 points through 8 is fantastic. 19 through 9. You're not just half on the plane, you're on the plane, I think, in my opinion.
Well, Canada remains the only undefeated team, but there are no laurels being rested upon here. The team has a mantra: delete, restart. And so here we are, restarting with hope once again reignited. To Honduras we go to get back on the road to Qatar.
Con ustedes, damas y caballeros, el himno a Canadá. Con ustedes, el himno a Honduras.
Welcome to San Pedro Sula, Honduras, a setting and stage of old nightmares, now providing the backdrop for new Canadian dreams. It's match 9 of 14 in World Cup qualifying, and so far it's been so good, really good for Canada. Top of the table, the only undefeated team in Concacaf, with Canada converting from World Cup outsider to qualifying contender in just 5 short months. Tonight, the Canadian campaign changes course with their first venture into Central America, a place more associated